Thanks for joining me on episode 511 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I'm Bob Loddick from Seed Time, and I challenge you to invest in yourself, invest in others, develop your influence, and impact the world by using your time, your talent, and your treasures to live out your calling. Having the ability to grow your money like a seed is key to learning God's way of handling money. And one way to be inspired to do that is to listen to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend, Scott Mater.
But over the long term, you want to build on areas of your life that do connect to you at a deeper emotional level. And you have to keep those in front of you. And this review process and revision process is about looking back at those goals and being open to first looking at changing the processes that you're using. Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world. Today, on this episode of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, I'm finishing up with you the special topic that I've covered over the last few weeks on annual reviews. I've broken it up into 4 parts: review, plan, reflect, and revise. And today we're focusing on revision. One area that a lot of folks need some help with is around the area of productivity. Getting not just more things done, but actually getting the right things done can be really, really tough. I've got a course called Productivity for Your Passion that's designed to help you do this and then to hold you accountable and walk with you so that you can tailor productivity not just to be getting more done, but actually getting the right things done. What's more, we take the approach of looking at your personality and how you actually look at things in the world and tailor the productivity system to your personality. Because the truth is, a lot of the systems that are out there are written really well for somebody with a particular personality type. But if you have a different approach to things, they just don't work. But there's tools and techniques and approaches that you can take that will work for anyone. And we help you do that in Productivity for Your Passion. Check it out over at inspiredstewardship.com/launch. At first glance, this idea of revising things as you go seems like sort of a no-brainer. You set a goal, you begin working on it, and then you have to adjust and change things. But the truth is that revising your goals is rather something you need to be very deliberate about. First off, that's usually what happens to us. We revise our goal. We start working on something and we begin to fall short of our targets, and so we change the target. We either get frustrated and just give up on the goal completely, or we suddenly set the goal as something much smaller. But the truth is that more often than not, whenever you're struggling with hitting a goal, there's one of 2 areas that's messing up, that's causing problems. And the first one is around the process you use, or the second one is around the mindset and habits and systems that you have, sort of the internal connection. So the truth is, when you're looking at your goals and you're beginning to struggle in an area or not be able to hit things, you want to look at both of these. You want to examine your internals and you want to examine your externals, your process. So let's think about that. If you're working on a goal and you begin to recognize that, for instance, you've set a goal and realistically working as efficiently and quickly as you can, it's going to take you 4 hours a day to work on this. And you've only got 1 hour a day of, quote, free time that you've dedicated to it, then you've set a goal that's too big for the time that you have. But how do you know that, for instance, it's really not that you're just being lazy or inefficient? And the answer is you really have to reflect and review the actual thing you're doing. If you had a very non-productive day where the truth is you spent a lot of time looking at Facebook and doing other time-wasting activities, and then you didn't hit your goal, well, now you need to examine the processes that you're using. You need to think about, what am I doing that's allowing me to get distracted? What have I put into my place that maybe I need to put a time blocker or a Facebook blocker on my computer. Maybe I need to learn some mindset and meditation techniques that help me keep my focus. Maybe I need to You see, there's a whole set of things you can look at your processes. Maybe the way I'm doing this is something that I can outsource part of it, or I can streamline part of it so it doesn't take 4 hours. You really have to think carefully about the actual processes you're using and how you're executing them. Are you successfully executing them well? Is this just something where right now it's slow, but with practice, it's going to build up and you're going to get faster and faster and faster? Well, then keep going. Stay the course. Don't give up on the goal just because you've fallen short right now. The other area where a lot of time revision is needed is your internals, your mindset, your beliefs, how you look at things. Are you thinking of yourself as someone who's a writer? Or is this goal around writing still one where you're looking at it and going, I'm really not going to succeed anyway because I'm not a writer? Have you reframed your mindset to connect yourself to the deeper emotional reasons for this goal? Have you kept those reasons in front of you? So when you were writing the goal, did you actually think about, why is this goal important? What is it going to get me? Not just in terms of money or time or more time with my family, but what's the emotional payoff? What's the connection to my larger values, my larger priorities, the things that are really important in my life? And are you keeping those things front and center before yourself? Are you able to put those things in front of yourself each and every day so that when you're reviewing your goals, you're not just reviewing the mechanical goal, but you're actually connecting again to the emotion of the goal? Why is this important to you? Some of the areas where I tend to struggle the most in being able to follow through and do them are the things that A, I don't enjoy doing, and B, really and truly right now, the only reason I'm doing them is for something that isn't part of my larger values. It doesn't grow me long term. And you know what? A lot of those things are now out of my list for 2020. They're things that I'm now going to say no to. And in some cases, that means money that I could be making, I'm not going to make, because the truth is, if all I'm after is the money, I'd rather spend my time and effort on other goals that connect to me and also have the possibility of earning me some income. So I'm going to spend more time coaching and less time on subcontract work and other areas that I've done this year just to kind of help the bottom line. But I've got the business to a point where that's not needed anymore. So you have to have some reality here. It's okay to have goals for a while that are just there for a mechanical reason. They're just there, to keep food on the table. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good reason to do something. But over the long term, you want to build on areas of your life that do connect to you at a deeper emotional level. And you have to keep those in front of you. And this review process and revision process is about looking back at those goals and being open to, first, looking at changing the processes that you're using. Second, looking at your mindset, your beliefs, and your emotional connection and making sure that that stays in front of you. And sometimes you need to revise your goals because they no longer fit into your larger priorities, values, mindsets, and beliefs. And then lastly, that you need to sometimes give up one thing so that you can get something else. And that's when it's okay to give up on a goal and shift it in a new direction. Thanks for listening. Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you enjoyed this episode, please do us a favor. Go over to inspiredstewardship.com/iTunes rate, all one word, iTunes rate. It'll take you through how to leave a rating and review and how to make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so that you can get every episode as it comes out in your feed. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.